Now we are going to talk about the basic blues progression. We can easily transform the generic blues, which, as you might remember, featured a very slow harmonic rhythm, into the basic blues progression. So the basic blues progression is the most common type of the blues, one that you'll probably encounter when playing with other jazz musicians. So let me play you a basic blues progression in time. 1, 2, 3, 4. So when you compare the generic blues and the basic blues progressions, you can notice that in the basic blues there is more chords. Instead of a single chord occupying measures 1 and 4, 1 through 4, you have 4 additional chords. So let's discuss how they came about and what is their harmonic function and tonal function. Remember, the first phrase of the blues is occupied by the tonic harmony, but we can add additional chords in order to enhance that harmony. We label these chords as substitutions. So for instance, instead of staying on the tonic for 4 bars, we can prolong that chord with a chord on E flat, on the subdominant, and return the tonic. Now, check out the chord progression in measure 4. You have F minor and B flat 7. What is the role of the F minor? We know that B flat 7, that's where the chord occurs to begin with. But the F minor is an interesting chord. When you look at the behavior of B flat 7 and its role in relation to the next chord, E flat 7, it does what? It functions as the dominant of the subdominant, right? So it's like 5 to 1. So imagine for a moment that the E flat is a new key area, local key area, and it's our chord that we need to get to in the most forceful way. So the most forceful way to approach that chord is through its dominant. So the B flat chord in measure 5, it's dominant. But jazz musicians like to speed up the harmonic rhythm by adding the 2 chord prior to a local dominant. So the F minor chord in relation to the E flat 7, it's a local 2. So it's like F minor, 2, 5, 1. So when I play the first 4 bars, listen to the accumulation of harmonic tension in measure 4. 1, 2, measure 2, measure 3, and measure 4. See, with that faster harmonic rhythm, the arrival of the E flat 7 chord or the subdominant in measure 5 is more inevitable. It's a very important concept, of adding embellishing chords. So we refer to these progressions as embellishing chords, because the structural chords remain fixed in fixed locations, but we can enhance these progressions by adding auxiliary chords or embellishing chords. And that's precisely what happened in my historical overview of the blues, when later blues progressions were completely unrecognizable if you would look at them without knowing that these are actually blues progressions. The same thing happens at the very end of the form. In measure 12, you have another 2-5-1 progression in the key of B flat major. So again, the dominant F goes back to the top of the form B flat 7, right? But we can emphasize that motion by expanding the dominant into a local 2-5 progression. So the C minor, 2-5-1. That's another expansion, which makes the arrival of the top of the form more inevitable. Also, look at the chord progression in the generic blues in measure 9. You've noticed that that chord is your dominant, F7. In our basic blues progression, there's no F7, it's a C minor chord. But the next chord is the F7. So what we've done here is to expand the two measure chunk controlled by the dominant into a 2-5-1 progression. C minor for one measure. So do you see how we can, by adding a very simple technique of expanding local dominants or structural dominants into 2-5-1 progression, we can expand the harmonic rhythm of the blues and by extension of other tunes as well. Jazz musicians love the 2-5-1 progression. They like the fact that the structural or local dominants can be expanded into two chords, therefore making chord progressions more active and more fun to improvise on. There is one chord that doesn't quite fit into the diatonic realm of the overall progression. The chord preceding the C minor chord in measure 9. You can see that there is a G7 chord. But again, when you think about C minor chord as being a structural chord that we need to get to, jazz musicians frequently would add the local dominance of these chords in order to make that arrival more inevitable. So the G7, when you think about it, is a dominant of C minor. So see, so it's like a secondary dominant. That's the technical term that we will use. Secondary dominant. 5 of 2, right? So listen once more to the whole progression. I'm going to play with the walking bass line so you can hear a faster harmonic rhythm, but especially pay attention to measures 4, measures 8, measures 9 and 10, and the final measure. So I want you to be able to hear a faster harmonic rhythm and the presence of chromatic chords. 1, 2, 3, 4.